Do.
Richard! Richard, help!
Shawn,
Yeah, it's me!
why are you in a sewer?
I was looking for the turtles.
You were as pathetic as you are sad. Now listen to this, because it's a Pod Bros exclusive. I'll go get a ladder. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard,
And I'm Shawn.
and we're speaking the language of bromance. Shawn, I found the perfect place for us.
Oh, where are we going, man?
I found the perfect place. This is where you and I can live together in, well, I guess I shouldn't say peace and harmony.
Well, I was gonna say like peace and harmony would be kind of like Hawaii or maybe somewhere in Florida or like San Diego. I mean, San Diego would be pretty sweet.
It'd be pretty sweet, but it's close. I'm talking about Idaho.
Now, there's nothing in Idaho but potatoes.
But that's where you're wrong, sir. Actually, is it Idaho or is it not Idaho? Because, Shawn, I'm talking about Yellowstone National Park.
All right.
You know, I think actually, when I think about it, this is kind of the genesis for the show. You know, because we started talking, this whole bird that is our podcast started on the premise of what, Shawn? Bears. What kind of bears? Evil zombie Nazi bears.
Yeah.
Where did they live? In the woods.
They do live in Yellowstone, yeah.
Not like Yogi Bear. That's Jellystone.
Did you find zombie bears? Is this what this is about?
Oh God, no! But that would be all.
Is our show ending because we found zombie bears?
We've come full circle, and now no, Shawn. I am talking. Okay, so I'm gonna sell you on this place. Now the title may seem misleading, but I guarantee you that it'll be okay. Shawn, the place I'm gonna talk to you about is called Yellowstone's Zone of Death.
That sounds like a trick. That sounds like this is where the zombie bears come from. Or is it like a big hole, like we're going to walk, like, Shawn, this is the hole of death. Well, it doesn't seem very...
There's a bunch of flowers here that's so misleading. It looks nice.
Well, I was thinking like you'd push me like this big like devil hole type thing. Is that what the hole of death is?
Have you ever heard about that? Apparently there's a hole that has no bottom.
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Okay.
I've heard there's like a waterfall too, where they can't figure out where the water goes. They've like put logs and things like that to sink, and they can never figure out where it comes out.
Anyway, Yellowstone Zone of Death. So I found this story. I'm reading this story off of the Inquisitor, and the story goes like this: there was a small 50 square mile area of Yellowstone National Park where a person could legally get away with murder due to an unusual loophole in federal policy.
Richard's like, Brocation 3.0. Here, Shawn, drink this.
Let's go out to the woods. Let's go out to the woods. And then I'll hit your head. So like I said, they're leading it off with murder. Like, okay, that's not necessarily the best place to, build what I would eventually refer to as bromancia.
Yeah, I don't see anything fun happening when you say, hey, Shawn, I can take you here and kill you.
We're going to build our kingdom known as bromancia, and it's going to be inside the zone of death.
Okay, so...
Which, honestly, but first off, when you say, hey, I live inside the zone of death, like, that's fucking metal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you pull up in a van with, like, a dragon airbrushed on the side of it.
The front's got, like, horns on it, like a minotaur.
Yeah. And we're like, where are you guys going? We're going to the zone of death because that's where we reside. We live in the fire zone of death. Zone of death.
Well, and everybody you see, they're going to be like, yeah, I'm not going. Who's going to want to go to the zone of death? I mean, I don't want to go to the zone of the death. If two people showed up and said, hey, we're going to the zone of death, I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going. I'm staying right here.
It sounds like a Zelda game, honestly.
Oh,
like,
well, yeah.
All the bad shit happens where? What do they call it? Death Mountain. You want to go to Death Mountain? But you know what? You end up going every single goddamn game. Where do you go? Death Mountain.
So you and I take our vacation to Yellowstone. We're excited to see some wildlife. Isn't that where? No, that's not Yellowstone. Where what's the thing with the presidents on it?
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore. That's not where Mount Rushmore is, right?
No, Mount Rushmore's in South Dakota.
Okay.
Black Hills.
So we go, and the van pulls up with the dragon and the metal music, or maybe the Carpenters. Maybe they want to lighten it up and they're playing the Carpenters.
The whitest band ever.
They open the door and they're like, "We're going to the zone of death," and I'm like, "No, we're not going." And Rich is like, "Wait, this could be our quest."
Yeah, this could be zone of death, metal, zone of death.
And we get in and we just get knocked out by chloroform and wake up tied up together naked.
Oh, just like our last vacation. Oh, I love to travel. Okay. Despite being informed of the potentially deadly loophole, Congress has repeatedly declined to take action to rectify the issue. So, you know what I think? I think that they're doing this on purpose. I think that there's something going on.
This is where the government has their raves.
Yeah. See old Strom Thurmond out there. Womp, 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 womp. He's got he's got glow sticks. Womp, womp, womp.
Well, they all show up and they're like, "Listen, we're not Republicans here. We're not Democrats. We're not independents. We're not Tea Party members. We're ravers." Bum, bum, bum.
Come on, Paul Ryan. Oons, 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 oons.
Paul Ryan's doing blow off somebody. They're all doing drugs.
Oh, like listen to Rush.
Yeah.
I fucking love Neil Peart.
I don't know why we fight all the time, guys. We should just be friends. Like, I don't understand.
It'd be the best thing ever. And they and everybody hugs. And then what happens outside the zone? That's the other thing is maybe zone of death is misleading. Maybe they say that to try and keep people away because they don't want people to see what goes on inside.
It's a deterrent. I mean, is there like a fence up? Like, do you see a border that says now entering the zone of death?
No, but if there was, I guarantee somebody has already stolen that sign.
Yeah.
Because that would be something I would hang like on my bedroom door.
I can't remember. There was it was some sexual innuendo road that they actually put like a GPS tracker in it and put a sign below it. It was like, this sign has been stolen. It was like Clint Avenue or Beaver Avenue or something. It said, this sign has been stolen so many times. We have a GPS tracker in it and we'll find you.
You would think it'd just be easier just to rename the street.
Probably.
When you constantly get signs stolen, like, instead of replacing the signs over and over, you just rename the street, put up new signs, and then it's done.
Well, yeah, you make all the streets boring. And I mean, and if you really want like a sign that says Beaver Avenue, like you could probably get it pretty cheap on the internet.
That's true.
And who's going to know? Like, it's going to be sitting up high. It's like, yeah, I stole that sign. It's like, oh my God, you're such a badass.
Yeah, I like to sleep with badasses. That's how it works, right?
And then, Pookie Bear, I made some cookies. Mom, I'm trying to get laid.
Mom, stop it. Give me two.
Hey, what kind? Chocolate chip? Love me some chocolate chip. Do you want some?
Milo! Okay.
John, I think he's in there with a girl. Are you sure it's not his pillow again? He's just trying to get cookies out of this deal. I think that's all it is. Laura, you're going to give him the diabetes.
Stop enabling him, Laura. The aptly named Zone of Death in Yellowstone National Park is located in a small portion of the national park that spills over into Idaho. Vice reports that the Zone of Death gained national attention when Michigan State University law professor Brian Colt wrote a 14-page paper in the Georgetown Law Journal called, quote, "The Perfect Crime."
He's like, these are the murders I've gotten away with in this zone.
I'd have you ask John Fitzgerald, but he's dead because I killed him.
What was this kid's name?
Brian Colt.
Colt?
I don't think he's a kid. He's a law professor at Michigan State. So I don't know if he's a kid.
What he does is he goes there and he downloads all of his music and his movies illegally, but it's technically legal.
He's got a little satellite dish, That's where the Pirate Bay is.
Yeah. It's like, have you seen Suicide Squads? I've seen Suicide Squads.
They moved all the servers out of Sweden into this chunk of the national forest because fuck you, America.
I want my movies for free, damn it. I don't really do much of that. I know some people get real testy about it.
What, the pirating?
Yeah, borrowing movies and music.
Yeah, I don't do it either. Okay, that silence makes me think that you don't believe me.
Moving on to murder. Shawn, let's go on a trip.
In the research paper, Colt noted that he stumbled across a small portion of Yellowstone National Park that had sloppy jurisdictional boundaries, which could result in the state and federal government's inability to prosecute major crimes such as murder taking place in the small area.
How big of an area is it? I mean, is it like square miles or is it?
It's 50 square miles.
Oh shit! So that's big.
It's a chunk of forest. My guess is it's Yellowstone. So my guess is it's all forest. And my thing is how do you know where it stops and ends? Because it's not like there's lines painted out there. Like there's just a big, like somebody just walked by with a roller. They're like, what's on the other side of the line? Zone of death.
Well, it's like, sometimes when you pull up the stop signs, they have the big yellow line with stop on one side of it. That's what this is. Somebody has like the big square mapped out with death, or was it the zone of death? Now entering the zone of death.
Big skull and crossbones on it.
Yeah. Enter at your own risk.
Yeah.
And there's just a dude with like a knife standing on the other side of it.
Now I walk by, I'm like, that's where pirates live.
Yeah, it's funny. So you walk up to it and you're like, I'm going to cross into it. You see some dude step out with a knife and like a clown outfit. He's like, are you going to come over here? Like, nope, not now. Oh, every time.
I got candy. Hang on a minute. Shawnee says he's got candy. What kind? Chocolate? Shawn, it's chocolate.
Richard, I don't think he's a real clown. I don't know. Look at his nose. Honk your nose, clown.
We need to know if you're real.
That's totally a real clown, Shawn. I bet that's a fake knife. I'm going to go see him. Stab, stab, stab.
Shawn, it's a real knife. It's a real knife.
Avenge me.
And get the candy.
Toss me some of that candy. I don't think he can hear me anymore. The clown just looks at me. He's like, we all float over here.
Or I'd be like, hey, there's pirates over there. And then you walk over and then it's just a bunch of guys sitting at computers. And I'm like, oh, well, I totally misunderstood that.
You show up in full pirate regalia and you're like, yo ho, and you hear like 5 of them go, shh, we're watching the new Pirates of the Caribbean. I didn't even know it was out yet.
Is that a bandana on your head?
You give pirates a bad name, sir.
I got it on the sea.
That almost seems like a good horror movie though.
Oh, like they go like somebody. Oh, you know what? That would be a good horror movie because it'd be like Hostel, but in the woods.
Yeah. Well, and like all these people live in this 50 square mile area, but they know where it all ends. So like you go camping in it and they chase you around. You're like, oh shit, we got to go 20 miles this way to get out of this zone of death.
Yeah. It'd be like House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah.
Like, there's somebody that like sends them off into the.
So copyright, Shawn and Richard.
Like they have, like there's a guy that's outside that sends them into the woods.
Like it's like a big game. These people like go in, yeah, like you said, like Hostel. So they go in and they get this game. And instead of being paintball where you shoot all the people, they go around trying to kill everybody.
Yeah. So then there's somebody that draws victims in. Like they stop at a gas station and it's like, hey, have you ever heard of the zone of death? And they're like, zone of death? What's that? It's like, oh, it's this section in Yellowstone Park where you can do anything you want. And they're like, anything? And then he's like, anything.
Go meet my dude, Steve. He's got all kinds of awesome drugs. Like, oh, we totally want to get fucked up this weekend.
Yeah. So then these kids go into the woods and they meet Steve, and Steve knocks them all out, and then they wake up and they're wearing like animal masks, like livestock masks. Like one of them's wearing like a cow head, and the other one's wearing like a goat head. And then there's somebody sitting there with like a pitchfork. It's like, get on out in them woods. Oh, and they put little. Oh my God, no, wait. And then they put little shock collars on them, so if they step outside, they get shocked.
Well, that doesn't seem fair.
Like dog collars, like if they walk outside the zone of death, then they get shocked and they have to go back in.
And the game lasts like 12 hours. Like if you can survive for 12 hours and you get to go home. It's like a Purge / Hostel / any Rob Zombie movie mixed together. Oh, if I can get that movie made and get to cast Sherry Moon Zombie, my life's complete.
My life would be complete too. I think she's hot.
She's very attractive.
I'd say the zombies as a couple. I think that would be the only person I'd be comfortable in like a devil's triangle with.
What's a devil's triangle?
That's like 2 guys and a girl.
Oh, I gotcha.
They call that the devil's triangle. I'm not exactly sure why.
Which you can only do in the zone of death.
Devil's triangle is only legal in the zone of death.
You walk up to Miss Zombie and you're like, all right, I'm ready to do this. And she's like, no. And Rob Zombie walks out from behind a tree. He's like, you service your Rob Zombie first.
Oh, all right.
Well, what happens in the zone of death stays in the zone of death. And he pulls out a camera.
Oh, not really. I'm putting this on YouTube.
He pulls out a camera. You're like, all right, well, I guess it's going to be on the internet.
No.
It's not gay if it's Rob Zombie, right?
Hi, Facebook. Colt notes that the loophole occurs due to the federal government's designation of Yellowstone National Park as a Wyoming federal district. So they're saying that the federal government said that the whole park falls under the jurisdiction of Wyoming. That means that all crimes committed in the park would fall under Wyoming federal district jurisdiction. But given that portions of the park fall in Idaho and Montana, this could cause a constitutional issue with prosecuting those who commit crimes in the small 50 square mile portion of the park in Idaho. Why is it just Idaho? Because it says portions fall in Idaho and Montana.
Oh, you'd think Montana would be in the same boat.
Yeah.
Maybe because Montana's like Canada's south. They're like, yeah, nobody does anything bad in Montana.
And if they do, nobody notices because it's Montana and like your closest neighbor's 18 miles away.
Yeah. Have you ever, like in Montana and like those very, very northern states, like there's section of the highway that if it snows, they're like, yeah, this isn't going to thaw. This isn't going to get plowed until it's thawed. So you're stuck.
God, that would suck.
Yeah.
Because you would think in this day and age, like in this modern era, that it would be, well, especially in Western countries like the U.S. and places like that, you would think it'd be you would have to like actually make an effort to cut yourself off from the world. You know what I mean?
I mean, not really when you really think about it, because if you look at the coast, that's where there's the most people. But when you start getting more into like the mountains, like in Colorado or certain spots in the Midwest, there's places that are really, really isolated.
I know. It's just you would think like with with things like the internet and modern infrastructure and things like that, you would think it would be difficult for you to be stranded somewhere for a extended period of time, like months.
I mean, to an extent, but that's why we've talked about Rob Zombie a little bit, but that's why he always sets his movies in like the 70s. Because he's said that before. He's like, today and age, like you can't put a scary movie in today's age because, somebody breaks down on the road in the middle of nowhere. They flip out their phone, call somebody, and they have somebody coming. Back in the 70s and 80s, you had nobody. Yeah. So you were isolated. You
didn't have cell phones, and that's why and you're right. All the really good horror movies were set in the 70s. Hills Have Eyes, Last House on the Left. Even like Nightmare on Elm Street and God, I'm trying to think of so
Texas
many
Chainsaw
others.
is a good example. I mean, you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But there are still, it's kind of sad, but I recently read a story about a lady who was hiking, I think, in Colorado, and she ended up getting off of the trail and got lost. But the fact that she was in this wooded area, it was like hundreds of miles of wooded area. I mean, she was only like 5 or 10 miles off of the trail, but she ended up not making it back because she had no clue where to go.
Right.
It's just that idea, like you're walking, in the wrong direction. If you just turn a little bit, 5 miles, you're right there. I think that's probably the scarier thing.
Is the fact that you're so close, but you have no idea?
Yeah, because I think Last House on the Left really shows that a lot when, spoiler alert, but the daughter's like right there at the house when all this bad stuff is happening to her, and her parents don't know. I think that's the scariest thing.
No fucking idea. Like right in that lake. Oh.
Yeah.
They're stabbing her.
Yeah.
And then they start pulling stuff.
Yeah, it's a creepy
God,
movie.
that movie's fucking creepy.
But where's the funny in this? So we've basically made a horror movie out of the deal, which I'm gonna start writing tonight. So what's the funny? So this zone of death, how can we make this the zone of fun? Maybe that's the Montana side. So Idaho's the zone of death.
All the these guys. So somebody shows up with a bunch of knives and guns and shit like that. He's like, I'm gonna show up and start killing people. And then you walk in, and then we have there's a rave going on. Like, isn't this supposed to be the zone of death? And they're like, oh, that's the Montana bit. This is the zone of fun.
That's the Idaho side. The Idaho is the zone of death. Montana's the zone of fun.
Yeah. This is where we have. Is that a unicorn? Damn right, that's a unicorn.
It's not an endangered species here, motherfucker.
Yeah. Not in the zone of fun. You know why? Genetic engineering. And you're like, how can you do genetic engineering? You know why? Because we're in the zone of fun. Zone of fun, we do genetic engineering. That's not illegal. You know what else isn't illegal? Unicorns.
He drops all of his weapons like, listen, I'll hang out here for a little bit. He walks over to the bar, and there's a velociraptor serving drinks. It's like, really?
And he occasionally ponders things.
Yeah. It's like, really? A velociraptor? It's like nature finds a way, man. Just happens.
Yeah. All right. He drops his stuff. He's like, okay, I'll stay here for a minute. I'm going to ride the unicorn one time, and then I'm off to the zone of death. 3 hours later. Whee! I love the zone of fun.
You know what would make this place so much better? A woolly mammoth. It's like, all right, well, here comes the woolly mammoth.
Say hello to Steve. Woolly mammoth.
It's so beautiful. I don't know why anybody would go to the zone of death.
Let's see. The law professor points out that the portion of Idaho would prove nearly impossible to prosecute an individual for murder, rape, or other serious crimes due to Article 3 of the Constitution, which requires federal trials to be held in the state which they were committed. With the federal jurisdiction of Yellowstone falling in Wyoming only, crimes committed anywhere in the park will be tried in Wyoming. So that makes sense. They're saying that all of Yellowstone Park falls under is in the Wyoming Federal District. So let's say you commit murder in Yellowstone, then it's a federal crime, so you're going to go to federal court in Wyoming. However, crimes committed anywhere in the park will be tried in Wyoming. However, if the crime occurred in the Idaho portion, legally the defendant would need to be tried in Idaho. So even though you're in Yellowstone Park, so you're in this section of Yellowstone Park, and you commit a crime there, it falls under federal jurisdiction of Wyoming. But since you technically committed the crime in Idaho, it should go to Idaho. But they're saying it falls under Wyoming, and so that's the conflict.
So it's kind of like a catch-22.
Right. They're saying the whole park falls under Wyoming, but this section's in Idaho, and so according to your constitutional rights, you should go to Idaho because you were in Idaho. Additionally, the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution states the criminal defendants have the right to a trial by jury. The jurors must live in the state and district where the crime was committed. This presents a huge problem for prosecutors as the Yellowstone district in Idaho is uninhabited. Therefore, there will be no jurors to pull from. So now you're going into your Sixth Amendment rights saying, hey, I need a jury of my peers there are no peers.
Gotcha.
Except for if in our case, so if you committed a crime here, then your peers would be the unicorn, the velociraptor, and the woolly mammoth.
And they all say, I say we'll party.
Exactly, because you've got those three in your pocket. With the zone of death located on federal land, the state would have no jurisdiction over the area because it's federal land because it's a national park. Meaning that
that's where it gets tricky because it's a national park. So that falls under the federal, not state. But since you have to have it all like under like people from that area, it's Washington state.
Exactly. Yeah. And since there's A, nobody in the area, and B, your trial would happen in a different area than where you actually committed the crime. Let's see. Federal land, which the state would have no jurisdiction, meaning that the state could not take over the case because the state has no right to take over the case. It's because it's on federal land. So it's on federal land, but it's in the state of Idaho. So Wyoming can't. The state of Wyoming can't take over the case because it's on federal land. It would go to Wyoming federal court. And Idaho can't take over the case because it's federal land, and so it doesn't fall on. So Idaho can't take the case either. Therefore, it must be deduced that it would be impossible to prosecute any major crime that occurred in this portion of Yellowstone National Park.
So why does it say major crime? Is it just pointing out kind of shock factor major crime, or
that's what I'm guessing. Well, because I think that Yellowstone in and of itself has its own set of rules.
I would assume that they would follow like federal and state rules, though.
Well, I'm sure they do, but this section is where it gets dicey because even though it's a national park on federal land, you're still technically in another state. So that's the kind of catch-22 of it.
So does he have any? So what else does he say about it? Does he have any stories of actual crimes that have been committed here, or is it just all hypothetical?
It's all hypothetical, but the fact that he's pointing it out, I don't know. I think he did something there, and he's like, "Ha, I got you, bitches."
That's where he goes and he just streaks. He's like, "Oh nope, this isn't nude in public. This is
Woo!
And then the cops steal his clothes. And they're like, all right, we'll cross this line to get your clothes. It's like, that's entrapment. That's entrapment, Mr. Officer, sir.
This is where he hunts big game. And in this world, the most dangerous animal is man.
So I guess if you had kind of this whole area, like what would you do with it? You know, basically this is almost like a Peoria from Family Guy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's technically kind of the Wild West because, in a way, aside from whatever sort of guidelines that Yellowstone Park has, then you're really not under any. You're completely free. I mean, it sounds like the only real authority you have to answer to if you're in this area would be like a park ranger. But from what I understand, this area is accessible only by hiking.
So somebody'd have to go out of their way to find you there.
Yeah, that's true. That's the other thing is like, and see, it really would be like a quest. The quest for the zone of death.
Maybe
the
there's
quest for Brotoria.
Maybe there's a bunch of like hidden gold and stuff there. Like somebody knew about this. Because I mean, I've read stories about like some guy that like buried gold in all these different areas. Maybe this is one of the spots he put it because he knows it'll be tax free.
Yeah,
he's like,
DB Cooper buried his gold there.
Listen, you go here, you find this gold. You don't have to give the government any of it.
Yeah, oh my God, that's true. It'd be tax free because you wouldn't pay taxes. Well, you'd pay. No, you wouldn't.
It's the government. They'd figure out some way to tax you on it.
Now you just made me sad.
Oh, I go to party with all the politicians in the fun zone, and then they take all my gold.
Stupid Strom Thurmond took my gold. That's it. I'm not buying the booze next year.
At least they left me a 25%. Oh, they took that too.
What would you do? What would you do? Okay, so someone points it out to you on a map and says, Shawn, If you look here, technically this 50 square mile area is in illegal loophole hell that basically sums up that you can do almost anything that you want. It's like the Wild West in the middle of this chunk of woods.
So what I do, Richard, I am a huge Billy the Kid fan, right? So what I do is I get me a horse, some assless chaps, a cowboy hat, a 6-shooter, and I raise cattle out in this zone of hell.
Okay, Shawn, number one, we both know that you already own all of these things.
Allegedly.
Number two, we also know that you would not do well. You're not an outside person.
No, I'm not. I'd get out there and I'm like, it's hot out here.
Is this what outside's like? I hate outside.
Richard, what is that? That's a bee, Shawn. Oh my God, is it gonna hurt me?
Hope there aren't any more of them.
There's only one, right? There's only one bee.
Yes, Shawn, there's only one bee ever, and you found it.
We get out, walk a little further. I'm like, there's another one. Smack you. You lied to me, Richard.
No, it's the same one. I promise.
There's 2 of them right there. It's an illusion, Shawn.
It's you're tired.
You're dehydrated, Shawn. Here, smell this. Does it smell like chloroform to you? We're walking around. We see a snake. I'm like, Richard, it's the devil. I've read about this in a book.
No, it's fine. Eat this apple.
If it offers you any fruit, Richard, turn it down.
No, it makes you smart, right? That's how it happens.
It's like, oh, this apple looks so good. Nom, nom, nom. Oh, now I'm sad about stuff. Why do I know so much now?
Oh, now I gotta start making clothes. This is terrible. Self-awareness is the worst.
Well, so I mean, I don't really know what I would do. Like party, like I'd want it to be like the Montana side, the fun side. People come and they party safely. Being able to have a velociraptor that's pouring you shots and a mammoth to ride around on, that'd be pretty sweet.
I'd rather ride the unicorn, but that's just me.
Yeah, unicorn would be fun. You could hold on to the horn while it's running.
Well, no, you don't need to hold on to the horn.
And you can move your hand up and down on the horn and make it go faster.
No, stop it. That's not how unicorns work. Don't besmirch the beauty that is the unicorn. How dare you?
So what would you do in this situation? So, you have this land to you that, the government, nobody can do anything to you if you whatever you do on here.
Like I kind of like the whole. I'm kind of into the whole off-grid living kind of self-sufficient kind of thing. So I think I just you get yourself a house, put yourself a house out there, get some solar panels, get a little like a rainwater collection system, and then you just do your thing. Maybe start a commune. That'd be cool.
Yeah, commune. But I mean, like you're talking about being able to be in this place self-sufficiently all by yourself. I mean, I guarantee there's probably farms. I bet there's people that have like these, 200,000 acre farms you could go to and do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
My question is, if you did that, like, how long could you live without the internet and all the things that we have? That's the bigger question.
You could still do the internet. Get yourself a satellite hookup.
Yeah, but if you do that, you're gonna have to start going out to get gasoline for your generator and things like that, or things to clean up your solar panels.
No, you run it all on solar. You can do enough solar panels.
Solar panels only last so long, though. I mean, you'd have to replace them.
Yeah, but that's not that big a deal.
Well, I mean, don't you think people are gonna be suspicious when you're leaving and coming back? And they find out you have this whole place where all you do is look up porn and jerk off all day.
No, you don't need it. You don't need to. You just send for it on Amazon.
Yeah. No, I've got Prime shipping. It's free.
You say your address is #1, the fun zone.
Big ass tree #1, fun zone. Montana side, not the Idaho side.
Yeah, don't go to the Idaho side.
You might get raped and my stuff will get stolen.
Yeah. Man, that delivery guy was supposed to be. It says estimated delivery time 3 days. Where the hell is that guy? Meanwhile, he's running through the woods with a dog collar and a goat mask on. Like, oh god, oh god, oh god.
I got Prime shipping. It said 2-day shipping, and it's not here yet. I'm gonna write an angry letter.
Dear ass faces, I've wanted to complain because your drivers are apparently incompetent.
And you go out and stretch right after you hit send. You see the dead driver on the Idaho side. You're like, oh, huh.
Oh.
Guess he took a wrong turn.
Where's my box?
I guess he took a wrong turn, didn't he? Huh. I wonder if that Elijah Dushku movie's on Amazon Prime. I'll go check it out.
And then we would eat the driver because I'd probably be hungry.
I mean, you probably could get. I mean, I always think like the self-sufficient thing would be awesome. But like, let's go. Like, you don't have the solar power, and you don't have the internet because that takes a lot of juice. So your solar power resources are very, very important. So Richard, you go out to the Montana fun side, and you have just enough energy to kind of like power some lights, maybe a stove, but you don't get the internet, and you don't get all the great things that happen.
Honestly, I think what I personally think is I think that if I put something out on the internet and said, hey, I have a house inside the fun zone, you can do anything you want, send me money, and then we'll talk about, having parties and inviting you. And I think that I would get buku bucks.
So basically you'd have like a campsite for bears?
Well, no, I just run like a Kickstarter for myself.
A GoFundMe.
Yeah, a GoFundMe. GoFund my commune inside the fun zone, not the murder zone. GoFundMe commune inside the fun zone, parentheses, not the murder zone, and parentheses.
Take a left, not a right at the murder tree. How do I know what the murder tree is? Trust me, you'll know.
Go up and there's a guy just pinned to it. Be like, oh, that must be the murder tree.
But I wonder if that URL's available. Richard's Fun Zone. That's got to be available, right? And you put the Sarah McLachlan with you sitting there with like an empty bowl of cereal, starving. For as much as $3 a day, you can have Richard's Fun Zone be a reality.
And then just show pictures of raves. Be like, have you dreamed of listening to electronica in the middle of a forest? Yes.
Have you ever wanted to ride a unicorn? Of course.
Oh my God, who hasn't? What's your feeling on velociraptors? Coolest dinosaur ever. Well, come down to the fun zone.
Come down to Richard's Fun Zone, where for only $755 you can spend one night of fun in Richard's Fun Zone.
You know what? This is starting to sound oddly. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about Richard's Fun Zone. Are they meaning? So somebody's sitting there going, "Do they mean an actual zone of fun, or are they talking about his privates?"
I don't know if this is a rave or an orgy. Well, and maybe that's how you. I mean, going back to our horror movie we wanted to create, maybe that's where it starts. Maybe Richard's Fun Zone in Montana. That's where he brings in all the ravers. Gives them a fun night of partying. He picks out the ones he think will be good game for the...
And then send them to the murder zone.
Yeah.
Who's living in the murder zone? Who's running the show in the murder zone? Is that going to be you?
Yeah, I'm going to be the one running the murder zone.
So I have the fun zone and you have the murder zone?
So I walk up with a clipboard. It's like, all right, well, welcome to the murder zone. We're glad to have you. So I hope you feel
this murder zone is exceptionally polite.
I hope the shot collar is fitting very well. So
it's kind of tight.
You're gonna hear a gunshot and some screams. So after you hear that, that's when the game begins. I would suggest running a lot.
So wait, do we start on the gunshot or on the scream?
I'll let you be the judge of that.
Okay, because I think I want to start now.
Well, do you want to hear the rest? Listen. Do you want to hear the rest of the rules? Do you want to hear and they start running, I shoot them in the leg. Listen.
Anybody else want to hear the rules? I do.
Bang. That's why you're supposed to wait for the scream, because the gunshot is me shooting the people who don't listen.
Great. Now somebody else. Yeah, I've already started because I just shot this guy in the leg.
And he screams. He's like, ow! It's like, damn it. I haven't explained the rules to the rest of the people.
No, you don't. Oh. All right, you know what? You know what? I was going to have rules. No, just run. Just go. No, you ruined it. You ruined Murder Zone rule time.
Crazy Redneck George, this one's injured. Get him. It's a freebie. I'm complaining as I walk away. It's like, try to run a fun evening for people, and some jerk's got to ruin everything.
God. People are the worst.
You see somebody jump out with an axe. It's like, no, I'm not playing. I have no collar.
And then Redneck Bob jumps out of the barn like on a unicorn.
Yeah, unicorns are in the fun zone only.
No, see, like in the fun zone, the unicorn is all like happy and fancy free, and like, oh my god, it's a unicorn, let's ride it. But in the murder zone, the unicorn's got like armor on. It's like the most metal unicorn you've ever seen in your life. And it like stabs people with its horn.
Maybe that's where they send like the reject unicorns. Like the unicorns that have like attitude problems, they send them to the murder zone.
Yeah.
And then the velociraptors.
Yeah, and like, oh my god, it's a unicorn. That looks amazing. Ah! It stabs him right in the chest.
It's kind of like Cabin in the Woods with the mermans. That's what I'm getting through this whole thing. Like, this is like Cabin in the Woods, but in like an Idaho, Montana fun zone.
That's amazing.
That would be
amazing.
And see how you end it. So when they're running, like the guy's running away, it's the last dude that's alive. And he runs up and ends up tripping and falling through into the fun zone as he's being chased by like Redneck Bob. And Redneck Bob gets like right up to the edge, is about to swing the axe at him. And like he's got a bracelet on or something that buzzes. And he looks, he's like, just walks away. And you walk up, it's like, hey, welcome to the fun zone. You want to come party?
Check out our unicorns. Ah!
It's like, you people are crazy. I'm calling the police. It's like, go ahead. They can't do anything.
Yeah. Call the police. Here, why don't you use my phone in the middle of the woods?
Oh, you can't get reception here. You have to go 100 paces that way. He starts walking and sees Redneck Bob pounce out of a tree.
Back in the murder zone.
It's like, oh, damn it.
Oh, you got me. That's clever.
I guess I have to live and work in the fun zone for the rest of my life.
I'm just kind of thinking it like, oh, fuck, what was that movie? This Is the End?
Yeah.
With Dan McBride. He's got all the face paint on. And he's got Channing Tatum on a leash. Colt says that after researching the issue, became concerned that someone may use this research to commit the, quote, perfect crime. Therefore, before publishing his paper, he sent 6 copies of the research and a proposed fix to the Department of Justice, the U.S. Attorney in Wyoming, and the House and Senate Judiciary Committees. He noted that it would only require a 3-line change in Yellowstone National Park legislative language to fix the loophole. He said, quote, it would be a simple fix for Congress to divide Yellowstone into 3 federal districts. The Idaho portion going to Idaho, the Montana portion going to Montana, and the Wyoming portion to Wyoming. He even drafted the legislative language. It was 3 lines long.
So after he sent all this stuff out, he also sent his alibis for the next 6 months.
There's a 4th line that says, this is not retroactive. Any bodies found in the murder zone prior to this date don't count. However, to the surprise of Colt, all government officials refused to make the changes, and his research paper was published. Despite the paper being published 11 years ago, government officials have yet to make appropriate changes to legislation to close the loophole, and the zone of death remains intact. Colt notes that it would take a serious crime for legislators to take action, and that at that point, it may be too late for the first victim.
Well, I wonder if, like you said, there's never been a crime, at least known, that's happened there. So, I mean, and you always wonder, like, maybe this is such a loophole, but the idea is like, okay, listen, we've looked at this. To do all the jurisdiction creation and all the stuff that we'd have to go through, like, this isn't enough of a loophole that somebody could get away with it. Because obviously lawyers or somebody's had to have looked at that, right?
Not necessarily. Well, I think part of it is, number one, you're talking about a very remote section of Yellowstone National Park. Like, they're saying the area has no roads and is only accessible via hiking. So you got to walk there first.
Like you said, so like if somebody takes somebody there to specifically like murder them, like that's like he's talking about like a serious crime. they've done the crime of premeditation somewhere else, right?
Right. It says he notes that the person could not pre-plan the murder, or they could be tried in the state of which they planned out the deadly deed, and that if any portion of the murder took place in another state, the person could be tried there. Therefore, the quote perfect crime for the perfect crime to take place, a person would need to hike into the desolate area of Idaho and randomly and without premeditation kill someone else in the area. That means that the chances of unprosecutable murder taking place in this area is slim. And Colt says it is still possible and should be addressed.
Would that work for like your drug use? So, like if you went there specifically to use drugs or buy drugs, or is that all more of the where you purchase it at?
Well, I think if you, I mean, honestly, let's put on brass tacks here. If you walk out into the middle of absolutely fuck nowhere, which it sounds like that's where this is, who's gonna see you?
Yeah, I mean, unless for the Rangers walking around, he's probably the one who's dealing. So
yeah, that'd be a good job because then you'd be the ranger, and then you're selling to people. It'd be like, no, it's okay. This is the murder zone. Like you're fine. I'm fine. You're fine.
The guy's like, oh, I thought this was $20. Why are you trying to sell me for $300? He's like, well, this is the murder zone.
Yeah, because if you don't like it, then I could just stab you in the face, and nobody could do anything about it. Oh,
here's $300. Sweet, thanks. Now go over to the fun zone where we charge $750 per beer.
That's outrageous. They have a unicorn. Oh, right. Let's see. Colt says he isn't taking any chances and has declined to visit the area, as he says that the quote irony gods would have too much fun with that scenario. So he's like, I'm not even going there because I'm not tempting fate. You know what happens to people that tempt fate? They die in the murder zone. That's what happens.
Walk in, you're like, this is awesome. Who's that dude running up on me real quick?
Huh, the murder zone. I made this. And then somebody jumps out and stab. Aww.
Oh, sweet irony.
This is going to be a story somewhere. The area became a cult phenomena back in 2007 when suspense novelist C.J. Cox based a book, Free Fire, on the area, showcasing the legal conundrum that would be presented should someone commit murder in the isolated area. So somebody's already written a book about this.
Somebody's already got an idea on this. Well, I still think like the idea of this being kind of a like not a Game of Thrones, but like a Hostel / Hunger Games type realm is very plausible.
Yeah. Oh my God, you could have the Hunger Games out there.
That's what I was kind of thinking.
Of course, that's what you were thinking. I don't know if anybody knows this, but Shawn is the Hunger Games fan. I've never read the books.
I've read the books like 12 times and seen the movies.
Or watched any of the movies.
They're good.
Oh my God.
Katniss Everdeen going into these woods and saving everybody.
Whatever you say. You know, I may have a thing for people with swords, but apparently you have a thing for people with a bow and arrow.
I'd agree. More J-Law, I guess, than anything.
I don't know. You kind of swooned at Legolas a little bit.
Yeah. So if this happened, if this was so this is what happened. So they trap a bunch of campers and they bring them into the fun zone. Like, all right, so we're gonna pick 16 of you to go into the death zone and fight to the death. Only one can survive. And so they go through.
Yeah. 16 enter, 1 leaves.
So they go through and they get 11 and they pick me as number 12. They're like, all right, for the last person, it's Shawn from the language of bromance. And I'm like, okay, Richard, I guess this is goodbye. And I start walking up. Would you be like, no, I volunteer as tribute?
Is that what she does?
Yeah, that's what she does. Because her sister gets picked. And so she volunteers.
Well, I probably wouldn't because I didn't read the books.
I'd be like, Richard, do you want to volunteer as tribute? You're like, what does that mean? It means you take my place. Oh, God, no.
Oh, Lord, no.
Did you see they have a unicorn over here and a raptor that serves you drinks?
I can't hear you on my unicorn.
May the odds ever be in your favor, Shawn. Like, oh, you have read the books. It's like, no, I just thought that was something good to say.
You're gonna die and I get a unicorn.
So that's so you come over as I'm getting prepped, and you're like, man, I was walking around, and you should see some of the guys that are going into the kill zone. They are huge.
They're huge.
I saw one guy with a sword. Oh my gosh, I'm glad I'm not going in there.
One guy has a chainsaw. A chainsaw, Shawn. I mean, granted, you could probably hear him from a mile away, but I mean, he gets close enough. That's a fucking chainsaw.
They had him doing laps. I mean, he ran like 3 times as fast as I do without a chainsaw. Whew.
Oh my God, it's like Usain Bolt. Like Usain Bolt, but for murder.
Shawn, you should try this drink. It's delicious. Oh, wait. You're going into the kill zone. You might want to keep your wits about you.
That's right. If there's one thing you need, you need to, keep those ears perked up. Watch out for Chainsaw Guy. Chainsaw Usain Bolt. That's who you need to keep on the lookout for.
And they're getting ready to send us off. And I'm like, well, Rich, wish me luck. You're like, oh, God, there's no use. You're going to die.
I'll remember you. Off into the night, Sparkles. I named him Sparkles.
People come up and like, is that your buddy? It's like, no, not anymore. Dead man walking. Hey, Shawn. I'm like, Richard, what? I'm going to sing the Hulk song. Do, 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 do.
You're gonna die.
That guy with the chainsaw's really fast. So does he have any kind of other remaining thoughts, or is he basically just is that kind of the end of it where he says, hey, this is the situation that can happen here. This dude wrote a book about it.
Yeah, that's basically it. He says, hey, this thing exists. Number one. Number two, before he even published the paper, he sent out places, he sent out his research to the Justice Department. He even showed how to fix it. He's like, hey, just so you know, this thing exists, and all you got to do is this, and it's totally fixed.
And they're like, meh.
We'll get around to it sometime. 11 years. Still haven't done it.
Interesting.
Still have a murder zone. Which makes me wonder, what's out there, Shawn?
Go into the murder zone. Murder zone.
Ooh.
All right. Well, I guess to wrap up this episode of, I guess we're warning people. We're creating movie and art, and then we found out that, if I ever get volunteered for a death match in the death zone, you're not going to save me.
And unicorns are awesome.
What's your Richard's closing thoughts on this?
Well, I think first let's lead it off by saying, always be careful when camping with friends. Don't let, if someone suggests to you, hey, let's go for a hike in the woods, and you live near Yellowstone Park, you might want to reconsider that, or bring a weapon, because apparently it's dangerous out there. It's a jungle in the national park. Let's see. Second thing I would say is, I think that the allure of all this at the end of the day is I think we all would like to live in a world where there are no rules, where there are no gatekeepers, where there's nobody holding us back from having drinks with friends in the woods, or riding a unicorn, or making a velociraptor. And I think that's commendable. So I guess I'll finish this by saying, fuck the system. Because if it wasn't for the man, we'd all be riding unicorns right now. And that's a world that I want to live in.
Well, I'll do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website. We're at languagebromance.com. Follow us on Twitter. We're at languagebro. Email us at eatthebeaver@languagebromance.com. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe and leave a review on Google Play Music, iTunes, and Stitcher.
And don't forget to check us out on the Podbrosen Network,
where it would probably be the Montana side of this. It's always the fun zone.
Yeah, it's forever the fun zone. Except, you know what? We don't have unicorns yet.
But if you want to help us get to unicorns, check out our Patreon account. It's www.patreon.com/languageofbromance.
Oh my God, could we make that a level? We
maybe
get to a certain level of funding and be like, we'll make unicorns.
$10 billion. We will try to make unicorns.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
This is just a horse with a dildo stuck to its head. Well, kind of close. Tomato, tomato.
Yeah.
That's not how the saying works, Shawn. Potato, potato. You're making no sense, Shawn.
People in glass houses sink ships. That's you just put two. Oh God damn it!
All right. Well, is there anything else before I close her out?
I love unicorns.
All right. Well, that's all the romance we have for this show. I'm Shawn,
And I'm Richard.
and I say we eat the beaver.
We're gonna kill that beaver. In the
we're gonna
murder
party
zone.
with that beaver in the fun zone,
Yeah.
and then volunteer them as tribute into the death zone.
I don't know. I didn't read the stupid book.